Hey everybody, it's me, Tess. Tehn Kaja Reacts. So it's been a while. It's been about 2 months since I've uploaded a video. I've been in school, and when school starts, I just don't have the mental energy to focus on some of my more creative endeavors. So I tend to just kind of, leave it to the wayside and, you know, get back to it whenever I can. But today, I wanted to talk about something that I've actually been experiencing and going through, and try to give you all some tips and tricks on how to handle it. So, a couple things have gone on the past couple weeks that have kind of changed me and um, changed my outlook on life and things. And one of those things was the death of a friend. And I'm feeling a lot better, but I have days where I just I just get really sad because not only because of my friend, but because whenever we lose someone, and when my mother and grandmother died about 10 years ago, I experienced the same thing where we start thinking about our own mortality. We start thinking about our own life, where we're going, where we're heading, and all that stuff. And so I've just been really, I guess, in my head. And a big part of the reason for that is because I'm currently experiencing what is referred to as activist burnout. And activist burnout is basically, it's the two words, activist burnout, or it's when you are someone who considers yourself an activist, and you are doing this and you're doing that, and you're talking about this and you're talking about that, and you're trying to do this thing and that thing because you're so passionate about these changes, and you're so these things are so important to you that you push and you push even when you know you should stop. And I did a lot of that. um Sorry, I'm getting emotional, but this is emotional stuff I'm talking about. So I did a lot of that the past maybe 6 months. I've just been going and going and going and going and going and going to the point where I can't even mentally handle um, speaking about the things I'm passionate about anymore, because I'm just so tired. And the thing about activism and being an activist, if that's an identity that is important to you, and that's an identity that you really connect with, is that there will almost always be something that you have to talk about. And there have been so many things that have been happening, um, and I haven't been able to talk about them. And you feel that guilt. You feel the guilt. You're like, God, I have to say something, but I just can't say anything because I'm so tired. I'm so tired, and the sad part is, because of this fucked up world that we're living in, there will always be something. And that's so fucking sad, but it's so fucking true. And so I'm having a lot of activist burnout, and I'm having a lot of guilt because I want to be able to speak about all these issues that are important to me, be an activist, be an advocate, all these things I say that I am. But there's just moments in my life, like right now, where I just can't. And some of that is because of personal stuff. Some of that is just I've been in school and I've been hitting it hard in school. I threw myself into school, trying to keep my grades up. I'm trying to get into a good school. I'm trying to do this. So, it's I've been going hard. When I'm not going hard with one thing, I'm going hard with another thing. I'm a very 0 to 100 type person. It's a flaw and I'm working on it. But I'm a very 0 to 100 type person. So I'm having a lot of activist burnout, and I'm trying to take care of myself. I'm trying really hard to take care of myself. But the really hard part is the guilt that I feel about not doing my job. Like, I feel horrible because I should be using the little platform that I have to spread awareness and to provide access and help to people. But I'm so freaking exhausted. And I've just pushed myself again and again and again and again and again and again so that I'm able to be and do what I'm passionate about. And I am passionate about seeing real changes in this world, as we all are. So activist burnout is a really hard thing. And one of the major things that you experience, and of course I can't speak about all activists and their experiences. I can only speak about mine, but I know that talking to some other friends who are activists or advocates or whatever identity that you use, is that they feel guilty, they feel bad, they feel like they're not doing enough. And so what I've been doing to try to deal with that is realize that I am a human being. I think that we oftentimes like to think that we're superheroes, we're Superman, we're Iron Man. We have, like we're not penetrable, that we have this solid skin that can't be penetrated. And I know that for me, I have to tell myself more and more that I am not a bad person because I can't speak about this, or that all of the work I've done is null and void because I can't talk about this thing that has happened or this thing that has happened. So one of the first things and one of the first tips that I want to give to my fellow activists, especially during this really hard time where there's so much that's up in the air, and the coronavirus pandemic is bringing out a lot of emotions and feelings and stressors. One of the main things that you have to do is kind of like, it's almost like a 12-step program where you have to just be like, accept it. Accept that you feel guilty. Like, I've accepted that I feel guilty, but I will not let that guilt. But the next part is to not let that guilt rip you up inside. I've accepted that I feel guilty, and that exception for me is necessary, because if I try to avoid it, it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger and it gets bigger. So I've decided that it's time for me to just accept that I do feel guilt, and it's a real feeling that I'm having, and try to process it. Look at the why. Why do you feel guilty? Why do you think that just because you're not speaking about the issues that are important to you, every single day, that your activism and or you being an advocate or a revolutionary, anarchist, whatever you want to call yourself, that it's null and void because you're tired and you just want to rest, ask yourself why. Why do you think that it's important for you to have to yell and scream every single day in order to be valid as an activist? And that's what I've been dealing with, is trying to assess, why do I feel this? Why do I think this? And it's stressful, but honestly, a couple years ago, the guilt would have really eaten me up, and I would have just felt hopeless because I couldn't process it and I would just ignore it. But I'm trying to take these things head on. So as activists and advocates, revolutionaries, whatever you want to call yourself, it is important that you realize that you are still a person. You hurt, you feel, you cry, all those things. So that's the number one tip I can give you, is to accept the feelings, accept that they are there, and then try to process them. And you can't always, processing them doesn't mean you have to do it alone. You can talk to a friend, you can talk to your partner, you can talk to a fellow activist who's going through it. You don't have to process it alone, but we have to try and, little by little, figure out why this is. Second of all, my second tip is, of course, is to promote self-care as much as possible. And be honest. And one of the ways you can do that is you have to be honest about your boundaries. So a boundary that I've set up is, I do activism on TikTok a lot. And one of the boundaries that I've set up is that when I am exhausted, please don't send me a million trillion videos of all the things that are going on in the world. Thank you for wanting to try and keep me, keep me aware of what's going on, but sending me 75 videos, like I have someone who sent me videos, so many videos that I wouldn't even want to check my TikTok because I'm just like, this is too much. And so I talked to this person. I said, hey, thank you so much for wanting to keep me informed on all this stuff, but please do not send me a billion videos. And you know what this person did? They sent me more videos and they were immediately blocked, because you have to put your boundaries up. If the boundary is, hey, I can't handle this right now, you have to set a boundary up and you have to be strict. So I'm being strict on the boundary that, thank you for sending me videos. Thank you for linking me to things. But if I can't get to it and I'm not able to get to it and you keep pushing me, then we don't need to be in each other's lives or spaces, because you obviously don't respect my boundaries. So you have to assert those boundaries. And that's a great way to actually avoid activist burnout. I look back and I should have asserted more boundaries, and then maybe I wouldn't feel so burned out. But I can't think about the shoulda, coulda, wouldas. I can't think about that. All I can think about right now is what's happening now. And so, of course, my third tip on how to deal with activist burnout, especially in these hard times, is to do things that you enjoy. With coronavirus, I know that it's limiting. We can't hang out with our friends and things like we want to do. And it provides stress. And, we often feel lonely. I know that I've been feeling lonely. I've only been in the house like for one day and I already feel lonely because, I was at school and at work and surrounded by people. 4 times a week. And I only had one day while I was here in the house. But now for the next, until January 16th, when the school year starts for the spring semester, I'm in the house and there's no way to avoid it. I'm in the house. So do things that you enjoy. I have been watching shows that I want to enjoy, very light stuff. I've been trying to stay away from really heavy subjects because I know that for me, it's an escapism. And I know that escapism, it can be a double-edged sword. Sometimes you need it, but sometimes once you're in that escapist like mindset, it's hard to come out into the real world. So I have to find that balance, which is something that's really hard for me. Balance is really, really hard for me. It is an issue that I am working on. I am just a 0 to 100, a black and a white. There are no gray areas in a lot of things with me. And some of that's just my mental illnesses and my life experiences and things. But I don't want to get too off topic. Just do the things you enjoyed. I've been reading a lot. For me, reading is another thing. It's an escapism where I can just be in a different world and I can just throw myself into that book. I've been listening to a lot of music. Music is so great for me. Music helps me deal with a lot of things. Just really do what you feel is good and don't feel any guilt about it. And I know that's hard. I know it's hard because guilt is a common thing in activist burnout. You feel bad no matter what. I feel bad because I'm taking time out and saying, I need to focus on me and what I need. I've been going too hard in school. I was going too hard over the summer. I was exposing myself to lots of triggering things because I felt like I had to, because this is my job to use my platform, the little platform that I have, to spread awareness. So you hit and you hit and you hit and you hit and you hit. And finally, your body and your mind and your spirit, you got to remember that the spirit just says, yo, I'm tired. We got to stop. You need to take a break. And sometimes you don't even have a choice. I'm not choosing to feel like this. I wish it was, because then I could turn it off, but I'm not choosing to feel like this. And when you have those moments where you're doing something you enjoy, whether that's painting or singing or just sitting down and taking everything in, even if you just sit down and you're just thinking and you're just keeping yourself away from stuff a little bit, We have to try really hard not to feel that guilt, but we're going to feel it. And once again, just like with step 1, you just have to try and process it. It is hard, and if you need help, reach out to somebody who you think have the spoons to handle it. But it's something we just have to try to do. It's really odd because, I'm trying to give, tips and tricks, but I'm suffering myself. I'm suffering myself. And for me, doing this video and talking about these things, on camera and getting it out there, it's helpful for me. It's healing and meditation almost for me, because these are things I've been sitting on for a long time that I don't always talk to with the people around me in my life. Not because I want to hide it from them, but just because I don't know. It's hard to explain, but I think that as people, you understand it. The next trick that I've found actually a lot of comfort in is I don't check my phone a lot. I am not as active on my social media. If you follow me on Facebook, usually I'm always fucking on there. But since my friend passed and since I've been going through all this burnout, I'm not on nearly as much, and it's actually been good for my mental health and good for my burnout, which I thought it would be bad because, Facebook especially is my connection to my fellow activists and my community. So like not, being all up in the mix kind of stressed me out at the beginning. But now it's to the point where I don't even check my phone most of the time during the day, or I'll post every now and then, maybe on Tumblr, but I'm not as active, and it has been great. And let it be known that that doesn't work for everybody, but I definitely suggest, 100% suggest taking some time away from social media. Take some time away from social media, because I promise you there's going to be something on social media that you have to talk about, that your spirit is like, you got to talk about this. Unfortunately, there's going to be another shooting. There's going to be another death. There's going to be another law that's trying to take away our rights. And we use social media to keep each other in the know. So sometimes just stepping away from it has been helping me really, like a lot. It's been helping me a lot. Another thing that I find is that, especially with the coronavirus going on, this is a good time for us to start doing some projects. And I don't mean any big, humongous projects. I mean, like for me, I have OCD. I think I've spoken about this before. And one of the ways that my OCD manifests is I'm a collector. I collect a lot of things. I collect DVDs, and I collect makeup, and I collect this, and I collect that. Lately, I've been so overwhelmed by everything. I just have too much stuff. There's a lot of DVDs I don't watch. There's a lot of makeup I don't use. It's time to start decluttering my life, because for me and for lots of people, that decluttering represents something. And I know that for me, throwing myself into a project can be kind of helpful for me to deal with some of these issues away from the stresses of coronavirus, or of police brutality, or of anti-LGBTQ and transphobia. I can just throw myself into my project, deal with it, because for me, that works. But I think throwing yourself into a project, whether that's an art project or whether it's reorganizing your desk, I find that it can be very, very helpful. But always do what you think is right. Like these are my tips and tricks, but you do not have to follow. This is not a rule book. These are just like, this is what works for me. And if you think it'll work for you, I hope it helps. But this is what I'm doing. So throwing yourself into a project can be very helpful. And I just want to touch on something right now. During this era of coronavirus and everything, a lot of us are struggling. We're struggling because I know me, I need to be around people some days because I get so in my head and I feel so lonely sometimes. Um, And I know that, as I'm an ambivert, but I know that a lot of like introverts joke and be like, oh, this is fine. But even some of the most introverted people need to be around the people they love every now and then. And I am just fortunate that I have my fiance who provides me a lot of comfort, and I'm able to see a couple of people that I really care about, but not everybody has that ability. And it can be very lonely, and it can be very isolating, hence isolation. But there's going to be a time, I think, during activist burnout, a lot of people can have multiple reactions to it, and some of those reactions is doing something reckless. So just be aware of when you think you're doing something reckless. And I'm saying that because myself, am a very impulsive person. And there have been moments where I want to act off of impulse because I'm sad or I'm lonely and do something that goes against my boundary or the boundary of something that about people to my partner. And that can be almost anything. I'm not even talking about going outside of my relationship or cheating or anything like that. I'm not even talking about, there's multiple boundaries that we set in our friendships and our relationships that something little, could jump right over that boundary. You know what I'm saying? So we have to try and be aware of where that impulse is coming from. And that's been my thing. I'm trying to figure out where are these impulses coming from. It's not just I'm impulsive because I'm sad or I'm impulsive because I think we have to go deeper than that. And I just want to make sure y'all stay safe in this coronavirus. Black people especially. There's been a lot of links between coronavirus and vitamin D sufficiency. So make sure you're taking your vitamin D daily, every day, staying safe. Don't travel if you don't have to. I know it's hard. We want to see our families during the break. I've not been able to see my friends and family for 2 years because we were planning to go down to Atlanta, but then coronavirus hit. And then now it's like, I don't know when I'll be able to go and see all the people I really love and care about in person. Or I don't know when I'll be able to see my sister, who lives in, where she live at? Who lives in another part of America. So there's a lot of just things that are up in the air. And I know we're going to want to do things because we're just like, I want to see the people I want to see. I'm lonely. I'm sad. I need to be around these people. But we have to remember, unfortunately, that we're in a pandemic. And don't do anything reckless because honestly, that recklessness be in my head. I'd be like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do something major. And there are little impulsive things you can do that are not bad. Like I shaved my head on impulse because when I'm sad, and not only me, when the queers are sad, we change our hair, we color our hair. Okay, when we're anxious, we change our hair, we color our hair, we do some makeup, we do all types of stuff to make us feel a little bit better. So I shaved my head on impulse. Babe's gonna dye my hair this weekend because I want a change. There are little impulsive things you can do that are not bad. And let it be known, I don't judge that impulsivity because I'm with you. I understand, and no judgment here, but y'all just be careful out there because I think that and I can only speak for myself. I think that how everyone responds to this burnout is different. And while I may be becoming more introverted and becoming more like just like trying to think about everything, some people may be more impulsive because they're just needing something that they're not getting because of what's happening in this world right now. So those are my tips and tricks. Let it be known that I'm slowly trying to get back on social media, but that with everything that's been going on the past couple months in my life, the importance of social media and how I interact on there has changed. I've changed. I unfortunately see how much I've changed because I'll look at a post from 2 months ago and look at what I post now. And I can tell that my heart's not in it because my heart's not in it. Because because of life's not in it. My heart's not in it. And it's almost like I'm mourning that part of me, that found such comfort on social media. Because for a long time, it provided a lot of comfort for me. But now when I go on social media, and this is no fault of anybody in my space at all, but now when I go on social media, I don't feel that comfort that I used to feel. And I'm dealing with that. And it's not just with social media, it's with my blogging. I still love fashion and makeup, but I don't know, it just seems just doesn't. It's not that I've lost my love for it, more so that it just doesn't provide that comfort that I need. So, and I don't have the energy for it. Like I said, I've been busy with school. I don't have the mental energy to upload a video every day, let alone once a week. I told myself during the school year I would try to upload once a month, but that went out the wayside pretty quickly because I couldn't put that pressure on myself. But the point of that diatribe was there's a lot of changes going on in this world. There's a lot of changes going on within us. And I just want everyone to be safe. And I love you all. I care for you. And I think that's all I have to say, you guys. Thank you. You individuals. Sorry. Thank you to whoever watched. And y'all have a good day. Okay? Stay safe out there.